Hi everyone, this is Mehul Mehta and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we have a very special guest. He is none other than Parth. A quick background about Parth is about to graduate from Princeton University where he pursued his masters in finance. So in this podcast, we'll understand his education background, his overall application profile, and also a quick fact is he graduated from IIT Bombay from a CSE background. So two reasons why you should see this podcast. First is, of course, Princeton University, Masters in Finance, top-notch university in the US. Second is, I personally feel that when you graduate from top universities in India, people move differently. So that's why you have to understand how people or how students in top university they think and they work towards their career goal. So welcome, Path. Welcome for joining in.
Thank you, Mehul. It's my pleasure to be here.
Sure. So, Fat, tell us your story. I mean, so where did you come from? Like, what was your native back in India? And can you share your academic journey with us?
Sure. Would love to share my story. So, I belong to a town named Nanded. It's a city, a district in Maharashtra, and I was there till grade 10th. So, I did my CBSE and education, part of my high school there, and then I went to Kota, Rajasthan, the hub of JE preparation. So, I started preparing for the joint entrance examination, which is like the main entrance examination for all the engineering colleges in India, for all the IITs and IITs. And I was there in for my classes 11th and 12th, and I prepared for mathematics, physics, and chemistry mainly. And then got a good rank in JE mains and JE advanced, and then joined IIT Bombay computer science and engineering program. And spent 4 of my lovely years there, and then graduated from IIT Bombay in 2022, joined Morgan Stanley just after my graduation, then worked there as a quantitative strategist for a couple of years before coming to Princeton. And now, since then, it has mostly been in Princeton and in New York.
Okay, perfect. So, quick follow-up questions. If you are comfortable, what was your rank back in IITs? Second is, so in those 4 years of engineering, you
Mhm.
mentioned that you joined Morgan's. Like after you graduate, you joined Morgan Stanley. So, were you doing something in those 4 years which give you some leverage that okay, or it was more because of the institution you were in that Morgan Stanley came in and they picked you?
Yeah, so to answer the first part of your question, I secured All India rank 3 in JE mains and All India rank 29 in JE advanced. And yeah, with those ranks, I got into like the coveted CSE program of IIT Bombay. And then during my stay at IIT Bombay, I actually kind of took courses from different domains. So the major was computer science and engineering. So it obviously had coding, programming, data structures, and all the computational courses that are required to understand computer science. So it ranged from basic programming to data analysis, system design, and machine learning as well. But apart from that, I took quite a few courses from the statistical background, like probability theory, statistical inference, essentially more mathematical and more uh, applied math courses that I would say helped me get easily and smoothly into the quant finance domain. So those courses and work and a couple of internships with couple of research and machine learning internships with places like Indiana University and Adobe Research also helped me get into quant finance.
Okay. And so when did you graduate? Which year did you graduate back in India?
I graduated in 2022.
Okay,
Yeah,
2022. Okay. So what I understand is you graduated in 2022, joined Morgan Stanley. And when did you come to the US?
I came in 2024.
Okay, so you work for approx 2 years as a quant strategist. So can you explain like what does a quant strategist do in easy words? Like, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So the main role of quant strategist is to mix quant analysis or quant research with making decisions for the firm. So, I mean, obviously, you join as a junior, as an analyst into the bank or into the firm, but then you are a part of the team there. You are a part of a division. So, I was a part of the fixed income division that mainly trades products like bonds, foreign exchange markets, and then like I had my manager, my team head, and then I essentially was responsible for the ground level analysis of all the data that we have, and then trying to model that data using some good mathematical models and assumptions, and then trying to come up with a decision which we can actually put on the system to monitor to modify the product's flows, and then change pricing and uh, yeah, client activity accordingly. So essentially, I mean, in simple terms, it's essentially a lot of analysis followed by sound decision making.
Okay, so before that, did you had any prior experience with the fixed income space? Like, did you have, or was it the very first time you entered into fixed income?
Yeah, so for me, it was the first time I entered into fixed income. In fact, it was the first time I entered into the quantitative finance or the finance domain as we see it. Because before that, most of my, I would say, internships or research projects or work was tilted towards machine learning, statistics, and it was quite, I would say, theoretical or academia related. But Morgan Stanley was perhaps the first place where I got a first-hand experience of what finance means and how mathematics and statistics can be used in financial world.
Okay. So I understand you worked for 2 years. Then how come this idea of pursuing a master's came into your mind?
Yeah, that is a good question. So, um actually, a couple of reasons. Firstly, I mean, it had been almost 2 years for me working at Morgan Stanley, and somewhere I felt that firstly, quant finance could be a domain in which I can pursue my career in the long run. And then, if I had decided that I would be pursuing quant finance as my long term career, I just wanted to get a more firm understanding, a more fundamental understanding of the domain. Because my undergrad education was in computer science, and quant finance, as the name suggests, it's quite related to finance. So uh, I did not have a formal degree or a formal education in the field, and hence I felt if this is something I want to do in the long term, then I need to get a formal training or formal education, and hence I decided to pursue higher studies in quantitative finance.
Okay. And like how many, so before diving into your GRE, how many universities did you apply for in total? And like how many admits did you get?
So I applied for around 8 universities
Okay.
and got admit from most of them. So I had applied to Princeton, CMU, Stanford, um, then EPFL, Switzerland, and a couple of more places, and had admits from most of these universities.
So why did you not pick, I'm just curious, why did you not pick Stanford over Princeton?
Well, so I mean, each university, for picking or not picking, each university has its own reasons. So Stanford's program, it's certainly Stanford, so it's quite good. But I felt somewhere that most of the quant finance or the finance hub is on the east coast of the United States, which is New York City. So proximity to New York City would be a bigger factor, or would be an important factor while pursuing this program, and hence I was kind of tilted towards the east coast universities, and so that's why.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So can you share about more about, okay, what was your GPA when you graduated from IIT Bombay, and then what was your GRE and TOEFL scores?
Sure. So my GPA while graduating from IIT Bombay was 9.3, 5.9.
Man, that's crazy. Oh, you were topper of the topper.
I mean, yeah, kind of. So the batch was certainly amazing. There were a lot of many smart people around me, and it was always fun to be with them, do my assignments and projects, and give the exams. But yeah, that was my GPA, and then I got 328 in GRE out of 340 with 117 Quant remaining in verbal, and got 116 in TOEFL. So
Yeah,
they were also,
that's a pretty good profile, I feel.
yeah, they were good enough. Yeah.
Right. So what was the most surprising or difficult part of transitioning from, India to the States, be it academically, culturally, socially? Like, what all challenges did you face?
Yeah, so I would say three challenges mainly. The first one was, and it's still a challenge, the food, I would say. I mean, back in India, I was used to having home food, and I mean, it was kind of inherently there in the routine that I would not need to cook myself. I would generally have it. If I was with my family, I would have it easily, and even if not, then there were good sources that offered similar dietary compositions. But when I came here, so that was a major cultural difference, I would say, where the essentials, that the main items of your breakfast, lunch, and dinner are changed, and you need to adjust accordingly. And since you are kind of on yourself, you need to cook, and you need to learn all the things. So that was the first major difference. The second major difference is weather. So India is a subtropical country, and I stayed most of my time in Maharashtra, Mumbai, or Nanded. So both of these cities have very extreme summers but mild winters. And here in Princeton or in New York, it's the opposite. So the summers are quite good, but the winters are quite harsh. So adjusting to the weather was another challenge. And thirdly, I would say, I mean, it's not a challenge, but then it's certainly a difference about the people around you. So in India, I was surrounded mostly by Indian community, and my main language of communication was Hindi or Marathi since I was in Maharashtra. But when I came here in Princeton, New York, English has been my main mode of communication. Be it, I mean, that hasn't been a major change as far as academy or profession is concerned, because back in India also I would talk with my professors and my uh, managers and team heads in English. But then while communicating with friends is what I see a difference, because here English is the language of communication. So these were some of the differences.
Also, I'm just curious. So, what I've seen is even though you have like the best of profiles, still some people tend to get reject, right? So, I'm just curious, like how were your LORs? How was your SOP? And like how was your resume back then? So, let's start with LORs, right? So, from which all professors and did you take letter of recommendation? What was the subject? And did you take any professional LOR also?
Yeah, so my LORs were a composition of all my experiences, I would say, right from my initial internships with Indiana University, Adobe Research, to my experience with Morgan Stanley. So I had LORs like mainly from firstly the professors of IIT Bombay, with whom I did with whom I took their courses and did research projects and teaching assistantships. And secondly, it was from these internships, like my managers in these internships, and then from my managers in Morgan Stanley. So yeah, I mean, it was a composition of the academic LORs from uh, universities like IIT Bombay, Indiana universities, Indian University, as well as professional LORs from Adobe and Morgan Stanley.
Okay, and just for the people who are hearing this podcast, so Indiana University is a university in the US. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part like which so what subjects were there in your LOR? Like, was it a mathematical LOR, statistics LOR, programming based LOR? Like, how was, so you mentioned, I understand, like, you took one from academia, one from your university in the US, and one from professional. But, like, which all subjects were there, like, mostly?
So, I would say most of them, I mean, so this has been a good point that has come up. Uh, so while applying for quant finance, you need three things in your profile. The first is good mathematical background. The second is a good programming background, and the third is a good financial background or economics background. Now, it's always good if you have one LOR from each of these, because that reflects that the candidate has worked in each of these three domains or each of these three fields convincingly. So for me, the academic LORs were more on the computational or computer science and mathematics side, because I had my major in computer science and my minor in statistics. On the other hand, the professional LOR, so from Morgan Stanley, it was like the Morgan Stanley LOR represented the financial background that I had to show for the uh, for the program. But yeah, it was kind of a mix
Mix of
both
everything.
these backgrounds.
And like how so in your SOP, was your focus like was it similar? Like was the focus be a mix of everything, or like you focus on specific? And like did you also like what were, because this question, a lot of students, they reach out to me and they say, oh, what should I mention in my short term and long term goals? So did you ever so I'm sure you would have faced that kind of question, and like, I mean, what were your thoughts? Like, how was your SOP written? Like, any guidance? So just imagine that if some junior who wants to target Princeton or similar universities, what would be your guidance to them? Like the way they should structure the statement of purpose.
Sure. So, and I think this is a good, this is also another point that needs to be discussed a lot, because many of the students applying for Princeton MFin and other MFin programs do ask me about how to write SOPs. So, the first thing that you should keep in mind is SOP is your own personal and professional story. So it's always good that the first draft that you make is in your own words. It's not copied from somewhere, or it's not borrowed from somewhere. Those are entirely your ideas. And then as you proceed, you refine that first draft through your seniors and all those who are reviewing it, and then you build upon it. So that is how the process should be for building an SOP in general, not just for quant finance, for any program, I would say. And yeah, that helps a lot. And now coming to what all should be there in an SOP. So SOP should be a composition of all your academic and professional stories in a structured way. Essentially, how you got interested into quant finance, assuming we are writing an SOP for the quant finance programs. And then, like, what was that first or initial spark that made you interested into this domain? And then all the relevant projects and preparations that you have done to pursue a higher study, like a master's or a PhD in quant finance. So you should share some of your stories, like some of your research project stories from your undergrad experience, then a couple, like a story from your professional experience, highlighting what project you did, what was your role in it, what technicalities you handled, like what language you used, what was the impact of your work in terms of PNL or in terms of efficiency, and then what you learned out of that project. And apart from this, you should also mention a bit about your short term and long term goals. So essentially, uh, like say 3 to 4 years down the line, where do you see yourself? That is kind of a short term goal. And in the long term, what are your plans after you graduate and after you have been a settled, a financially or professionally settled person? And then a bit about the program that you want to apply in. So why does that program suit you? So essentially, you should answer two questions: why should you choose that program, and why should the program choose you? So it should be answered both ways. Essentially, what you find interesting about that program, and you should also give sufficient information in your SOP so that the program has a convincing answer uh, to choose you. So it works both ways.
Okay, I would ask now because you are in Princeton, right? What would you say? Like, what are the top 3 or 4 things, that you personally liked about like MFin program at Princeton? Like, what all things you enjoyed or you think that these are certain strengths of the program?
Sure. So, the main reasons for me choosing Princeton was firstly the cohort size. So the cohort size is quite selective at Princeton, and that always helps you get personalized attention from all your professors, all your career counselors, and it's always good to be a part of like a very selective group where you get to know each other personally. So that was one of the main reasons why I chose Princeton. Then secondly, the proximity of Princeton to New York City. I mean, there are obviously universities in New York as well, but then Princeton, along with its brand that it carries, it's also close to New York. So that was, yeah, essentially the other reason, like Princeton's name, brand, and community, and its proximity to the financial hub of the world. And then thirdly, the strong alumni network that the university offers. So it's always good to be amongst people who have built histories and who are legends and whose stories we have been hearing. So that obviously, I mean, the I have heard this quote saying that you're an average of the 5 people that surround you. So it's always good to be surrounded by smart and intelligent people. So that's why.
Man, people want you in their group. You are the intelligent man. Okay, I understand what you say. So also like, I'm just curious, like, what kind of projects so you did in in at Princeton, like because I understand a lot of people from Princeton they end up into quant trading side of things or quant researcher side of things. So please correct me if I'm wrong and if in case like you disagree, but what all projects in general does students in the master's degree do they work on? Like, can you share like 2 3 examples of, okay, let's say XYZ projects are certain? Yeah.
Sure. So most of my courses till now have been a mix of two departments, I would say. Well, I mean, I am obviously a part of the finance department here, which is called the Benheim Center for Finance. Sorry. But there are two major departments that host this interdisciplinary program. The first is economics, and the second is operations research and financial engineering. That we call as the ORFI department. So economics is more on the economics side of things. You get to know about different theories of economics and finance and how to build and develop intuitions about uh, why something is happening in the world out there. And Orphe is the more mathematical or the computational side of the course where you get to do where you get to do more mathematical and applied uh, courses. So my personal course selection has been a mix of both of these. Regarding the projects or the things that I have built so far, one of the major chunks has been on optimization. So linear optimization, linear and non-linear, and then uh, uh, working with convex objects, convex programming. So that has been one of the major course chunk, I would say, or one of the major subfields that I have been working on. Apart from this, as far as finance is concerned, I got to work on projects like modeling stock prices and option prices using reinforcement learning and uh, mathematical decision making, which we generally use in reinforcement learning. So fields like reinforcement learning, optimal decision making, how to use them in modeling all these financial uh, assets. Some of these, and then one more project or one more subfield that I got to work in this semester itself was regarding energies and commodity markets. So kind of working with different kinds of energies in different regions of the United States and trying to expand them to the entire world, and also trying to work with electricities and compute electricity prices using demand and supply from people, and how studying the dynamics of uh, the prices. So yeah, these are some of the works that I have been doing
Okay,
so far.
and yeah, quite interesting. Also, part like so let's say someone okay, two questions. First is on the career service. So a lot of universities have different career service, right? So what would you say about Princeton? Like, what have you like? How have they helped you? And where does most of the Princeton grad like where do they end up in, like which kind of roles they end up in, if you can educate like the audience and even me.
Sure. So the career service from Princeton has certainly been an essential part of the program and my personal journey. Uh, Again, since the cohort is kind of selective, it always helps you talk one on one with the career counselor, the career cell, and that helps you get to know many of the industrial contacts and talk to them on a personal level. So that way, most of the students in my senior and junior batches have been into quant research and quant trading roles, mostly at buy side institutions like hedge funds, so Citadel, Jane Street, uh, uh, yeah, and then uh, quite a few people also go into HFTs, high frequency trading firms. So like
So what do you think, like, is like why people end up into quant trading or quant research kind of things? Is it mostly because of the way, it has been pipelined? Like, I'll give you an example. So if you talk about NCSU as a university, right? We have a very small cohort, like a batch of 40, right? And with the batch of 40, you'll see most of people ending up into either quant analyst kind of roles or
right,
market risk or credit risk side of roles, but
right.
it's very tough to crack into quant trading or quant researcher. Very few have done, but these people actually had certain years of work ex back in India. So what do you think, like what plays into getting into all this quant research or trading kind of roles? Is it like the institution, or what's your take on that?
I think what matters is your previous experiences, and how you perform in the tests and interviews. Um, I mean, like quant research is mostly like data analysis, but then for the company to select you or for you to select the company, there should be a good fit both ways. And yeah, I mean, US job opportunities tend to be quite selective. So, in general, one needs to be quite prepared for all these roles in terms of all the technical abilities that they're expected to answer, and then also like their motivations for joining the company. So, I mean, it's certainly quite selective and quite rigorous process. But yeah, I mean, if you are well prepared, then you can certainly crack one of these roles.
Also, so did you? I'm just curious. Did you find any difference in the mindset of the people with whom you are around and with whom you were around back in India? Like any differences in mindset? Because I remember this question. I really genuinely wanted to ask you, like, because you came from like top notch university back in India, but again now you're again in a top notch university. So like, what differences do you see?
Yeah, so one of the differences is I would start from the university side. So the amount of resources available per student is certainly a lot more in the United States as compared to India. Due to which, what happens is students get to pursue their own interest. Not to say that they are not doing that in India, but then here it's like whatever the student is interested in, he or she has the opportunity and the good resources to do so, and that leads to a good diversity in the professional paths that students follow, and that leads to a good composition of the accolades and accomplishments that the university gets. In India, I mean, it's still a developing country, so people tend to focus on getting a secure job, a secure career, due to which a lot of the focus is mostly on, I mean, to get a good job, everyone wants a good job. So a lot of the competition is narrowed down to applying, I mean, getting a good position in a good firm. And since many people are doing the like competing for the same thing, like the selection process boils down to grades, scores, GPAs. So due to this entire system, what happens is a lot of students just focus on these particular mathematical parameters like grades, GPAs, test scores. And I mean, I won't say learning is like kind of finished or abolished due to this, but somewhere or the other, learning and I would say the research mindset of students gets a toll on because of overemphasis on these things. So that is something that I found has been a difference in the two countries.
Okay. Also, like, what is one myth about Princeton or any, top MFE programs that you think students in India should stop believing?
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, one of the things that I personally heard a lot while I was coming here was once you go to the US, you always get a good job. Once you go to the US, you are secured. But that is something that I would call a myth because that is not the case. Even if you are in to the States, even if you are in a very good college, like say you are in MIT or CMU or Harvard or Princeton, you still need to struggle and you still need to work hard to get a good position, a good role. I mean, it's not like once you come here, all your problems are finished and it's a rosy picture. So that is something that I would like all the people applying for higher studies in the United States to keep in their minds.
Right, right. Yeah, this is so true. Yesterday only I spoke to a girl. She graduated from Boston University. Boston is of course top-notch university, right? She pursued mathematical finance. She
Okay.
graduated last December. It's been one whole year. She did not get a job,
No. Yeah.
and she's returning back to India.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and Boston, it's expensive. Like I'm not sure if you know this, but the master's degree at Boston for mathematical finance, it's pretty expensive.
Okay.
So yeah. So I felt like what you just said. Like I feel like people had this in their mind that, oh, if you go to US pursue a master, you'll just get a job like this. And
Exactly.
I feel that might have been the case like 10, I don't know, 5 or 7 years before, I don't know, before COVID or something. But after COVID, things have changed pretty differently. I mean, I don't see people getting jobs just like this.
Yeah, then that is a point. Yeah, I mean things earlier were in a different dynamic setting. Now things have changed.
Right. Also, I have just these two last questions. How rigorous is your coursework? Of course, like you alumni are into quant research, quant trading. I'm pretty sure the coursework is pretty rigorous. But like, what is the focus area most on? Just for an example, like NCSU is more focused on risk side of things, right? We have the way we have structured our course, fixed income derivatives. One key element in our coursework is how do you understand risk in a specific, asset class, right? So that is, I mean, risk is important integral part of NCSU's curriculum. But like, what about Princeton? Like, what is the focus area mostly?
Yeah, so for Princeton MFin, what happens is you have to do, so it's a 2 year program. So you have to do a bunch of core or compulsory courses in your first year. And then once you have completed that, uh, it's all about electives. So it's all about the courses you get to choose on your own. So the real, the real, the real field or the real direction that that you would pursue depends actually on yourself, what kind of courses you take and what kind of interest you want to follow. So in my case, I I got inclined towards more of the mathematical courses. So I took a lot of courses from the Orphe department, focusing on optimization, time series analysis, then also a few courses from the economics department focusing on the intuitions of what happens. So essentially, courses like alternative investments focusing on private equities, real estate markets, and all the non-traditional investments. But yeah, I mean, this is what the career trajectory is defined. This is how it's defined. But apart from this, the course curriculum is kind of a mix between, I would say, mathematical courses, as well as more programming heavy and more financial heavy courses.
Okay. Also, like, and I did not ask you this question, but what is the education fee of Princeton MFin program? And like, how much is the living cost for almost like 2 years? How much is your rents and like overall living cost that you would say every month? Like, how much did that cost to you?
I mean, the fees actually keeps on changing every year. So it's kind of expensive, I would say, as far as Princeton MFin is concerned. But
Do you remember the cost? Like the total cost for the program?
so on I-20, for my first year, the total cost, including the tuition and the living expenses, was around 90,000.
But I-20, I feel somehow it's more inflated. I don't know, like mine was also something close, and my overall cost came out to be way too low than what was mentioned. But like, just if I just ask you about the education fee, like how much, let's say, living aside your living cost, do you have any rough estimate of, is it like $80,000 or $100,000 or 120 or something like those?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be around maybe 25 to 30,000 a semester, which is so as far as as far as tuition is concerned, I think it's at par with some of the quant finance universities on the East Coast. But yeah, I mean, that is like a ballpark figure uh, that that I can remember of right now. But it's still on the expensive side, I would say.
And there are like 4 semesters in your program, right?
Right.
And like, how much do you pay for a living expense? Like, be it your rent, like groceries, and like just like this is just to give an idea of people who wants to come into, let's say, Princeton. That okay, this might be the cost you might have to bear.
Sure. So I mean, maybe 1,000 to 100 and like 1,000 to $1,500 a month.
Okay.
I would say uh, around 1,500, or maybe I mean, it again, it depends on how you live, but including rent, which is almost which is just below 1,000, and then all your groceries and all your expenses, I would say it boils down to around 1,500 to $2,000.
Okay. So, Parth, I mean, great. I mean, great journey you have shared. One last question, which I have, if you want to give a roadmap, to any junior of yours or any student who wants to make into any top MFE program, what would you recommend? Like, to anyone who's listening to the podcast till the end, what would you recommend? Okay, do these three things and make sure, like, yeah, like any recommendations from you or any roadmaps from your side.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so first thing is, whoever is listening this, I would suggest trying to build a mix of maths, coding, and finance skills and experiences and knowledge in your portfolio, in your academic portfolio, I would say. Start building like strong mathematical and statistical knowledge base through good courses if you are still in your undergrad. If not, then all these good quant experiences certainly help a lot. So try to work in relevant fields, so relevant quantitative fields, or be it machine learning. But yeah, all these experiences help you. getting a good MFin or MFE program. Coding is also kind of essential. I mean, programming is there everywhere, and that's the case with quant finance as well. So, having a good hand and a good understanding of programming in a couple of languages would also boost your application. And yeah, be prepared to work hard and be prepared to put in lots of efforts now also, and once you get here into MFin program, because that's how life is. But yeah, overall there is a good learning curve that one should expect in this particular field of quant finance.
Perfect, perfect. But thank you so much, Path, for giving your time. I like it's. I mean, I just love the way you described each and everything. But genuinely, thank you for showing and giving time.
Thanks a lot, Mehul. Thanks a lot.